Go.
Did you know that a Formula One car can rev up to 20,000 RPM? That's 3 times more than your standard economy vehicle on today's roads. Did you also know that a Formula One car can go over 160 kilometers an hour and go back down to zero in just under 4 seconds? Formula One cars are the latest and greatest in technology and fastest cars on the planet. Starting back in Europe in the 1920s to today in 2022 all over the world, I will be talking about where Formula One came from to where it is today and all of the great little facts that are in between. So, start for the first question. What is Formula One? Formula One is the highest class of single-seater racing sanctioned by the FIA, which sanctions pretty much most of the racing series that you will see around the world. It is the highest level of competition for both drivers and manufacturers. Having its origins in the early 1920s, when cars were starting to become mass-produced, manufacturers wanted to show their engineering capabilities, but all things came to a halt when World War II came. But in 1946, the FIA created Formula One, having their first Grand Prix in Silverstone, England in 1950. So, what separates Formula One from other forms of racing? As you see here, we have NASCAR. NASCAR features stock car racing, which means that most of the cars here are all pretty much the same. Same motor, same chassis, same materials used. The only difference is the team and the driver. Formula One functions a little differently. Formula One has a strict set of rules and regulations set every year by the FIA, and teams must design and build their car every year to follow those set rules and regulations to create the fastest car in the grid. Now I will go on to how a Formula One season works. Each Formula One season follows a structure of 24 Grand Prix, and each Grand Prix has a practice, a qualifying, and a race session in that given weekend. Each weekend, teams will go in and race to their heart's content and to earn points. And at the end of the year, the team with the most points wins the constructor champion, and the driver with the most points wins the driver championship. Starting with the practice session, these are usually held on Fridays, and this is the time used by teams to test out the car on the given track, changing settings, driver habits, and seeing how the conditions work on each car to prepare for the qualifying session and later on the race. During the qualifying session, this is held on Saturdays and holds 3 individual qualifying sessions, Q3, Q1, and Q2. Usually for these, this is the time spent for drivers to go out and set the fastest lap times. First, in Q1, all 20 drivers will go out on the grid and try to set the fastest lap time in a given time. At the end of that time, the bottom 10 drivers will be eliminated. And later on in Q2, the next 5 will be eliminated. And with that, the top 10 in Q3 will have their last chance to set their starting grid order. Finally, the main event, the race. Held always on Sundays, these are endurance-style lap races that can have a limited hour of 2 hours with a minimum distance of 305 kilometers. Varying from track to track, it can go up to 70 laps per race. Each team is required to at least make 1 pit stop during the race to add further challenge and competitiveness throughout the race. And at the end of the race, the top 10 drivers will be awarded points, each for themselves and for their given manufacturer and team. At the top of the field, when you get first place, you get 25 points, and to the bottom of the 10th place, you get 1 point. Furthermore, 1 point will be awarded to the driver with the fastest lap time recorded during the race. Now, onto the cars and teams. As stated before, Formula One is always pushing for innovation. Back in the 80s, it was V12 with aluminum chassis. In the 90s, V8s with the introduction of carbon fiber, and now V6 turbo hybrid engines that can produce over 1,000 horsepower, placed inside carbon fiber chassis that provide maximum weight reduction. These cars are placed on racing grade Pirelli tires that can ensure the maximum amount of grip, and all of these combined can cost a car maybe over $20 million.
Wow.
Later on, we have the teams. While there are 10 teams on the grid today, I'll only be talking about the top 3. Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes. Starting with Red Bull, coming into the sport in 2010, it is one of the few teams that is not a predisposed manufacturer of cars, as being an energy drink company. But that means no less to their level of success. Combined, they make over 5 World Driver Championships, starting with their driver Sebastian Vettel, and later on with the current driver champion, Max Verstappen. Next up, we have Mercedes. Coming into the sport in 2009, have collected over 8 consecutive driver championships with their driver, Lewis Hamilton. And finally, most notoriously, Ferrari. Being in the sport since its inception, has collected over 16 driver championships and 15 constructor championships throughout their tenure. So, what do these teams each do, and what do they consist of? Each team consists of drivers, engineers, specialists, and team directors to ensure maximum effectiveness. The drivers drive the cars, the engineers set up and build the cars, the specialists work the pit stop and collect all the materials gained after the race, and the team directors make sure that everybody is working at utmost efficiency and effectiveness, all to ensure the highest level of speed, efficiency, and competition for the Formula One Championship. In conclusion, Formula One is a complex and exciting sport that combines high-speed racing, the highest level of technology, top level of engineering, and the highest level of driver talent to bring the highest spectacle of racing and competition around the world. Thank you.